multiple hearings.
We're gonna go ahead with it.
It's not gonna push anything back on our end.
We don't have anything on the table this
That? Okay.
so we've been waiting another 2 weeks, right?
So it'll be,
So.
6 o'clock.
March 7th.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
it's time.
good evening, everybody. Welcome to council meeting of February 21st, 2023. If anyone here needs any amplifying headphones, please let us know. All right, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, Donna, will you do a roll call, please?
I will. Councilmember Bode,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman. Here. Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Marinesco,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember McDowell,
Present.
and Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Does the council have any late changes to the agenda? City manager have any late changes? Do the council members have any board reports to share?
I do. So in the Shelton Metropolitan Parks District, we added Mel Schneider, or we reappointed him, and Dan Yankee. And then we discussed playground equipment for a new park coming up by your neighborhood, actually. There. And then we talked about the future of funding for park projects because the current levy of 1% is not keeping up with inflation. So we're discussing ways on how to keep the budget going to meet our plans for the next 5 years. So that was our public report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Excuse me.
Is there any
sorry.
questions for Councilman Himmelberg?
No question.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Attended the AWC conference last week in Olympia. And that was a good turnout. Very informative. So I wanted to share a little story I have with a couple from Olympia that was in a coffee shop here in town. Having coffee. I was in there the other day and I introduced myself and asked where they're from, and they said Olympia, and I said, how do you feel about what's going on in Olympia? And they said it makes them sad, but they said we come to Shelton because we love to shop and eat in the restaurants and have coffee, and it's just a wonderful city to come to. So I just wanted to share that. She said your city officials are doing a great job. Just wanted to share that tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Piggyback off of Kathy, we did attend city action days in Olympia. We got to hear the governor's budget priorities. We got to hear the legislators on both sides of the aisles, budget priorities, and they got to hear ours. And it was a great experience. And thanks, Jeff, for going with us. All right. Has everyone reviewed the items on the consent agenda? Can we have a motion?
I make a motion that I moved.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're at general public comment. At this time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any topic not listed on the agenda. Donna, do we have any interest in public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Our first person is Chris Brickert.
Good evening. My name is Chris Brickert, and I'm the board chair for Community Lifeline of Mason County. I first want to say a huge thank you to all of you for the endless hours and time and focus that you have to put on the problem of homelessness. I'm very appreciative for all of it. This evening, I'm just going to briefly talk about the last point in time count. We nearly doubled our pit count from last year, going from 254 individuals to 477 counted individuals living on the streets or in places that would be considered not inhabitable. Sadly, this last number is about a 330% increase since the count that was taken just 3 years ago. Public safety is at the top priority for all of us, I'm sure. Having nearly 500 people on the streets, however, poses an alarming safety risk to everyone in the community. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the average cost of homelessness per person per year in our country is about $40,000. This issue can't be addressed until a budget or other funding is available to increase the access to affordable permanent housing. The magic word there being affordable. Realizing that the word affordable is the greatest challenge to all of us. Interventions are needed immediate attention if we can get ahead of this rapidly growing problem in our own community. On a more positive side, I'd like to report that the newly opened Recovery Cafe in Community Lifeline's building already has 30 participants enrolled in active services. And we are only open 3 days a week right now. Soon we will be open all 5, and we expect that that number would at least double. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Monty Ritter.
Thank you. Pardon me. I'd like to address first I'd like to address your agenda for today and your action item on the Peacock Ridge annexation request. It's interesting that in your,
Sir,
pardon?
you want to speak on that one?
I'm sorry, with respect, Mark Ziegler told me that my question, which is that on your to be determined looking ahead agenda, it says that the annexation policy for the water sewer extension, the UGA, is up for looking at. Apparently in the newspaper, it shows that it's going to be next week, and it didn't say a time for your meeting to discuss your UGA annexation policy. And I'm curious how the two of these can actually flow together. It just seems like you're kind of getting ahead of yourself if you don't have a UGA annexation policy in place before you annex my neighbor next door. Because if you annex my neighbor next door, my neighbor on the other side, Joe Mankey, who owns just as much property, is in the UGA. If you go forward with this annexation UGA sewer extension process, I've been talking to him for as long as I've been talking to Green Diamond. He's actually set up, he could jump in front of this Green Diamond deal and he could mess that up so that they won't have city services to put sewer and water in place when they look forward to it. And I'm really looking forward, we really need the Peacock Ridge annexation to happen first. And Joe doesn't care because he has his own third egress down to Highway 3. So he doesn't have the same problem Peacock Ridge does. So don't get ahead of yourself and do this other stuff before you take care of Peacock Ridge annexation. Okay, it does not work out. And as far as everybody, like I say, I appreciate everybody's hard work with the parks. And I really am Mark Ziegler and everybody. We've tried for years to try and get this trail built together. And I made a mistake when I spoke in front of this council back on September 6th. And I said that the county didn't have money to invest in the Shelton UGA because they didn't want to invest money and then just lose it because Shelton's going to annex it apparently as soon as the county invests some money in the sewer. No, this doesn't work out. What does work out is this county told me they had $293,000 in a fund that they could put into putting this trail together that would hook up a Mason County recreational area to where the Olympic College of Shelton is if you continue with our Peacock Ridge development and don't get ahead of yourself. I've said enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I can provide answers to those questions to Mr. Ritter.
What is the time for next week's meeting?
6 o'clock, or the meetings are always at 6.
The meeting for next week's meeting is a study session that will be focused on the city website. This has not been scheduled yet, but I'll talk to you about that.
Our next speaker is Dean Jewett.
Good evening. Good to see you guys. Gonna have a few conversations. The first one, I have some concerns at the last meeting. It seemed like my wife and I got called out by a member of Community Lifeline, stating that maybe we enjoyed talking about orphan shopping carts versus people. And that is the furthest from the truth. But I would assume that these 3 minutes that we have are to have conversations with you, not crosstalk or going after somebody else in an argument type of a setting. So it's the last I'll talk about that. I sent you guys an email today and I sent some visual presentations for you. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at those. And as addressing Kathy, Shelton is a great community. And when we shine, we're really bright. We shine good. I mean, this is my community. You wonder why I fight so hard? Because it is my community, just like it's yours. It's ours. Okay. It seems like we have an overabundance of individuals sleeping in alcoves to where now we have to have no trespassing signs put up. We have to put up expandable iron bars to keep people out. I wonder what the perception if people came 1 block off and walked down some of the streets and seen what we have, or the defecation and the urination in the alleys and the 3 hours of jumping in a dumpster. We have garbage that's strewn everywhere. We have campers that are parked and then they're moved for a couple of days and then they're brought back. That's not the way the camping ordinance reads. They can be cited in any location. It's not, they don't get a restart. If they pop their hood, that doesn't mean that they're working on their car. I mean, these are all the tricks that happen that we know about. And if I know about them and I know where they're at, then everybody should, including our police officers and our police chief. So I just wonder about the culture that we're setting, that we're not going out and making a positive impact. We have Red Apple parking lot, the old Red Apple parking lot, that we have a camper that slides in and out of that. We all know the Ford pickup that hauls around the overloaded, very dangerous axle braking situation that's going to happen. And you guys know about that. What kind of liability does that put on you? Here's my challenge to you. And I'd like to get a report back on it, or we'll talk about it next time. There's enough businesses in town. Have you, as a council member and leadership, had conversations with these businesses one-on-one to find out, no survey monkey, no survey stuff, face to face? I challenge you, go hit 5 businesses in the next 30 days and talk to the owner and the people that are there. Find out how they feel. What are they seeing? Whether it's pro, con, negative, positive, what is it? Bring it back. Let us know.
Our next speaker is Jackie Jewett.
Good evening. So, speaking of business, we have a lot of small businesses here in our community. A lot of really good small businesses that offer great goods and service. And so if we look from Front to 7th Street, down Railroad, we can look at Coda in Franklin. And just with that small area here downtown, there's probably, 60 small businesses. We have a lot. Look at our chamber. Look how many businesses are listed here in Shelton. And so small business is really good for a community. It just is. It brings, it brings employment, and it brings money back into the community because they're working and living in the community. And it offers opportunities for people in different aspects that a big business might not be able to do. And so with entrepreneurship, in our community, it's really important. And so when there are negative actions of other people that directly impact
our businesses. It hurts. It hurts. You know, it costs money because of the vandalism that we're required to pay. We have extra trash that we're always having to pay for because it's in the alley and in our parking lots. You know, we have video of so many people urinating and defecating on our sidewalk. You know, I wouldn't want them to do that at my house. I own a building downtown. Just like you probably own your home. So if it's not acceptable at your home, then why is it acceptable at my business or any other business that is struggling here in downtown? So if we cannot, for some reason, enforce the no lay lie law here, at least in our downtown core, then maybe we need a new ordinance that might be more doable for the council, that maybe these things shouldn't happen and these people should not be within 150 feet of our businesses. Our small business supports Shelton. We don't want to see them go. We want the council to have our back. That's what we want. We want to be supported because we support this community. Thank you.
That's all for now, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Public Works Superintendent Brent Armstrong has information for us about purchasing an asphalt patch truck.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. I think we have a slideshow that goes with this. So we have been working hard over the past few years on figuring out a new patch truck for Public Works to go and fix potholes. And here we have a couple pictures that I'll run through and so basically, why do we patch the city roads? It's to keep them safe for travel, and as well as if we can go out there and repair a pothole quickly, we can keep it from not spreading and minimize the maintenance that we have to do on it, as well as minimize the damage to any vehicle that's going to hit that. Our current patch truck is over 26 years old. As you can see, it's in rough shape, but it's kept up as well as we can. We put a lot of time and energy into keeping it running because we can't just not patch the potholes. The pros and features on the new ones are the jackhammer, oil sprayer, and asphalt spreader. This lets us bring in one-stop shop. We don't have to bring in tow a trailer with a jackhammer. We can fix it once, fix it right, and move on. And these are just kind of some of the conditions of the current patch truck. All of this is now automated. In 26 years, they've came a long ways with new equipment. So, conclusion, it's a very solid purchase for the city. Our staff is trained in this equipment because it is the same style. It's just a lot more accessible and easy to use. We provide maintenance on 118 lane miles of paved streets. We were able to go out to Mason County. They purchased one of these and get a demonstration from them. And that's why we felt like this is the right design for us. And as well as the new design makes everything a lot safer and more efficient. So there is a video to this. I didn't really want to take 4 minutes of your time if you wanted to watch that at your own leisure.
Donna, is there any public comment?
No, there isn't, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion?
I move to forward resolution number 1260-0123 to the action agenda of the March 7th council meeting for further consideration.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Yes.
I have one. Do we keep the old one or are we gonna try to get something for that?
So we are, currently, I think they might give us a little bit of trade in, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But what we are gaining is another dump truck to our fleet. Because it sits in a dump truck right now, so
Okay.
we'll have an additional snow plow that we can run when other ones are down and. It's an older dump truck, but anything we can get because getting new ones take a while now, so.
Okay,
Any other comments or questions?
Oh, kind of answered my question. I'm very interested in snow removal activity. So is the new truck going to be a snow plow or is it a dump truck? I think
No, the new,
only
it will be used for patching.
This type of vehicle isn't covered by the enterprise agreement that we might enter into in the future, right? This is a specific dump truck, patch truck. So it has to go through this process, right?
And it was budgeted correctly.
It is budgeted and coming in at budget, and yes, we are purchasing it through, state contract, I believe. Yes, it is on state contract.
Yes.
can you use it for larger projects? I mean, not just for patching, but can you use it for?
You can do it for all like pothole maintenance, so I mean, it's not just, doesn't necessarily have to be a pothole like that. With
Okay.
this capability, we can cut out squares. And patch it, we can patch around manholes that we raise and repair.
Okay,
If there's no more comments and questions, we have a motion and a second to forward resolution number 1260-0123 to the action agenda, March 7th, council meeting for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Here we go, you're halfway there. Are you next?
I am next.
Oh, we have
again.
another one from Brent. I was wondering why you weren't leaving.
Yeah.
I should look down.
All right, so second one is our camera van purchase. And this is a well-needed purchase also. When we were doing budgeting, I had some slideshows that I believe you all saw the state of the old camera van and it's also 20+ years old and the technology is good, so we would like to stay with the same vendor. So this will help us with our new stormwater permit also. We are going to camera storm lines, find issues that need to be repaired, and as well as help with the new city's asset management system. So we can go through, get our maps correct, so people can come in, see where property's at, see what their sewer lateral comes off of. We get a lot of those calls and hopefully that'll get to where down the road, when we have that all dialed in, we can use it as our asset management also.
You use that for like looking at sewer lines, make sure there's no breaks in them and stuff like that. too,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it will also help us identify those areas that have the INI, the inflow and infiltration to our system, which is quite high right now, so we can be able to target areas like that and repair them.
Cool. Don, do we have any public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
And do we have a motion?
Move to place resolution number 1261-0123 on the March 7th council meeting action agenda for further consideration.
I'll second that.
All right, comments or questions? Yes.
Just kind of curious. So am I correct? Do we have a camera system on our Vector truck as well? Thought we purchased that as part of the Vector. The Vector we bought 3-4 years ago.
The back truck, we don't,
We didn't get a camera.
I don't think we got a camera on that.
No. Why not just contract this out? Are we using it like every day? Or
we will be using this daily for sewer and storm, and that's why it's kind of a split purchase. And the the benefit that we have of doing it in-house is we can control backups, we can narrow our scope, we don't have to wait.
Yeah. It's like having your own snake at home. I mean, you can do it right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just familiar with a lot of sewage companies, whatever, they all usually have a capability on a back truck. I couldn't recall if we bought that or I thought we talked about it. That was the question.
This purchase also does come with a smaller handheld unit that we can go on some lateral lines and stuff like that, as far as our own smaller stuff for storm, especially because the camera van itself doesn't go under 6-inch, but this will let us go down to 4 and do at least sides for storm.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion to second to place resolution number 1261-0123 on the March 7th council meeting agenda for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public Works Director Jay Harris has information for us about Angleside pressure zone.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Deputy Mayor, Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. Angleside pressure zone. So I have a map in the packet that shows where I'm talking about. Generally, it's the south side of the city. The 480,000 gallon reservoir was built in the 60s and has served us well. It holds fire suppression storage is the main thing, and then also drinking water supply. It serves about 25% of the city. Our new comp plan and our former comprehensive plan from 2010 said that we need to add additional reservoir storage in the Angleside zone. One way to increase the storage is to take the dead storage out of the existing tank. If you read your briefing, I tried to explain how that all worked, but basically there are houses that are constructed near the base of the reservoir. You can't take the tank down too low or else the house will run out of water pressure, basically. So either the houses get removed, which isn't going to happen, or you figure out a way to bring in a booster station like we built up there to pressurize those homes that are at a similar elevation of the tank, and voila, you can draw the tank down. So that's one option. You can gain about half of the tank, a little over half of the tank of dead storage back by just improving the pressure zone up there. The other way is to build another tank in that zone, and that's maybe a little longer term. So that pressure zone is quite large. So when you look at the tank elevation, there's a lot of people at a similar elevation. If you go all the way over to Lake Boulevard, you can look at like the county GIS mapping shows a lot of people are at a marginal pressure at where the tank is elevated now. So this pressure zone, the higher pressure zone, utilizing the existing station will be pretty extensive. So that's one of the things I have BHC consultants who I'm bringing online to look at this for us, is to basically do a pre-design report for the whole pressure zone and throw some good ideas in there, get the existing station up and running. There's a few improvements that still need to be made to that, some additional piping, some pressure reduction bolts, some a little bit of telemetry and some connections, that sort of thing. Get the dead storage out of the tank and then plan for the future for the build out, because there's a bunch of undeveloped property. Coffee Creek is one of them that would benefit from this pre-design report, and ultimately some construction projects. So BHC prepared a proposal for $159,200 for the pre-design report. Once we have the report done, we send that to the Department of Health. They check it over, send back an A-OK on that, or we make some revisions. It will really help us in future grant requests for up there. And then also if we want to secure loan funding to go do some improvements up there, having that whole pre-design package completed, you just move into final design, bid documents and construction at that point. So this will move us forward, hopefully somewhat quickly up there, and get us in the right path in that particular pressure zone. And I will be talking to you down the road about other challenges in other pressure zones. I'm available for questions.
Right, Donna, do we have any public comments?
No, we don't,
And
Mr.
do we
Mayor.
have a motion?
Move to place resolution number 1263-0123 on the March 7th council meeting action agenda for the consideration.
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
Okay.
Councilor Peterson.
Just a question about the design report itself. Is there a certain shelf life to that? Particularly as we have seen the change in pressurization requirements changing. Are we anticipating that this report is something that can be used tomorrow or 5 years from now? Or is it something that as state requirements change, we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and update or modify in some fashion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the reason is when we are in the process of adopting our latest comprehensive plan, water comprehensive plan, fire flow requirements went up. So a residential unit was 750 gallons per minute of storage, it went up to 1,000. So that change in the international fire codes and all that crept up a little bit, which obviously didn't help our tank storage issues. So our goal is to meet current fire code, right? So, we're living with systems from the past, residents from the past, older fire codes, which they were built under. And, the goal is to up the whole system to meet latest. I can't see any big changes coming out with the International Fire Code on that end. In terms of the shelf life of the report, that pressure zone most likely isn't going to change a whole lot in terms of the geographical boundaries. So the improvements are warranted, especially the dead storage improvement. I mean, getting that, utilizing the existing tank makes a ton of sense. I'm coming back to you at your next council meeting for a comprehensive reservoir storage study that we take all the reservoirs, put them over there for a second, and look, what do we look like 30 years from now, right? We have a bunch more people here. These old steel reservoirs are nearing end of life. They need to be recoded inside and out. Some of them are 50, 60 years old now. We need to call the end of life of some of these. So it could be the second reservoir up there. It might not actually end up over there. It might end up somewhere else. Or that might be the largest reservoir in the city, the one we build there, right? So that options report is going to play into it. So this report needs to be done so we can move forward with the dead storage and for the 500,000 gallon tank. That 500,000 gallon tank is not a for sure deal. We need the 500,000, but it might not be located there in the future. It might be combined with a larger tank somewhere else.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember McDowell.
So on this, you have this picture of the dead fire standby equalizing and operational.
I didn't create that, but it is a nice picture.
It is lovely color. So the first one is dead. Can you explain what each one of those, how much? Explain what is the dead zone, what is the fire standby?
Sure.
Is that the amount of water that's in there, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the tank's about 500,000 gallons. So I'm looking at the second page of the staff report here. And so the dead storage is exactly that. It's storage I can't use because it will drop people's homes below 20 PSI at their meter. Okay. You need 20 PSI at your meter to run your house, obviously. You go down below that, we can't take the tank any lower than that. So we have some homes that, we can take the tank down about, little, almost halfway. That's it. So the rest of that tank is dead storage. You can't use that water for fire. If you did, the pressure's too low in all those houses.
So you
So-
just consider that just water in there?
This is water sitting in there. It gets turned over. It's not like it goes stagnant or anything, but it's not usable for fire suppression or drinking needs because that person right next door won't have enough water pressure in their home to operate. So when the tanks were built, they didn't worry too much about that because there wasn't that many homes going in around them, right? And over time, a bunch of needs came online that needed more and more of that tank volume. And so we need that volume back. And so it's already laying there ready to be used. We have the booster pump station. We're going to be able to utilize that from what BHC, our design engineer, is saying, to take that dead storage out of the tank. But we have to do some more piping and some other projects to get that to all work. So operational is when the pump is off and the tank isn't filling, the level in the tank will drop it calls for water. And then at the shop, that's where the pump station is, we send water to fill the tank back up again. So those aren't always on, obviously. So that's what that is. That gives you some operating range there. And then equalizing is the next one. And that is, 4 to 7 PM in the evening. We use a lot of water, right? Those pumps are turning on and off more, but it's similar to operational storage that you need some more bandwidth to run in. And then the pumps run for a lot longer period of time and it fills up slower. So operation and equalizing are sort of the usable volume. Fire and standby is that. It's if you have a large fire, you need 1,000 gallons per minute in a residential zone for a couple hours, you need that on hand in that reservoir. And then I can't go any lower than that though into the dead storage.
Okay,
Okay,
very good. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Nope. We have a motion and a second to place resolution number 1263-0123 on March 7th, council meeting action agenda for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now on the action agenda, Jay has information for us about granting a public utility and easement. Access easement.
good evening again. So in 1995, we issued a license agreement with Tom and Debbie Roberts for Boston Lane. It's the corner of the watershed property all the way over by Island Lake. So people have been driving on a gravel road across that for years. The gentleman is here this evening. He drives it every night, or his family does. And that license agreement needs to be converted over to an easement. It's in the county, so it's not a public right of way really, because we wouldn't do a public right of way sort of that far out. Probably sometime down the road, we would grant a public right of way through there if there's a bunch of users using it. The parcel adjacent to him wants to do something. They want to develop it or do something back there. They need to negotiate an easement with other property owners, but the city as a property owner, the road's already in, it's already being used. We need to put a public easement on it that will grant utilities and access for anybody adjoining or the next properties over for access. Nothing has changed since my last presentation, and I'm available for questions.
All right. Donna, do we have any public comment?
No, we don't.
Right. May we have a reading of resolution number 1247-1022.
Resolution number 1247-1022. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Shelton, Washington to grant a public utility and access easement across property owned by the city.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Move to adopt resolution number 1247-1022 as presented.
All right, we have a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I don't think I asked if we had any comments or questions. We're good? Okay. Right. Okay, city manager has details for us about revising the council protocol manual.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Couple revisions to your protocol manual. This was first considered and discussed by council at a study session on January 10th of this year and heard as part of the business agenda at your last council meeting on February 7th. There are several revisions here. They have not changed since the February 7th meeting, and that includes the council members on outside board provisions, the ability to use Zoom to participate in your council meetings, and changes to the agenda packet. So those things haven't changed, along with the requirement to state whether you're state your address. We changed that to whether you're a city resident or reside elsewhere. The one thing that has changed since your last meeting is where public comment is placed on the agenda. And as part of your discussion on February 7th, that was moved in the version that you have as part of the packet this evening to immediately after the city manager's report and immediately before new business. And those are the only changes. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, Donna, do we have any public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
And do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the city council protocol manual with revisions as presented.
A second.
All right, comments or questions? Nope. All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the city council protocol manual revision as presented. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, we also have details about the periodic review of the shoreline master program, and I think Jay's doing that.
This again. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here to pinch hit for Senior Planner Jason Dose, who is ill and not able to join us tonight. So this is, as we previously mentioned at the other council meeting, the end of a long process to complete the state mandated updates to the Shoreline Master Program. And these were guided in large part due to state requirements, ecology, suggested language, so on and so on. And I know we went into some more detail about what those changes were at the last meeting. Admittedly, Jason is much more of the expert, having worked on this for almost 2 years, more than myself, but I'm happy to answer questions that you may have about this. It's probably an easier format to do a Q&A response than it is to kind of go through everything line by line, unless you'd like me to. So happy to answer questions at this time. Thank you.
Donna, do we have any public comments?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
We have a reading of ordinance number 2000-1222.
Ordinance number 2000-1222. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington relating to land use, amending chapters 2, 5, and 8 of the city of Shelton Shoreline Master Program.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance number 2000-1222.
Second.
All right, comments or questions? Yes, you're off the hook. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2000-1222. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, I guess you are pitch and hit for Jason again about updating the standards for flood damage prevention.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And again, this is actually another long running project that Jason was working on to update ecology and FEMA's requirements for kind of mandatory changes to our floodplain ordinance. Each NFIP participating jurisdiction, National Flood Insurance Program, sorry, has their own local implementation of the federal rules. You can be stricter, but you can't be looser, and you have to you can find alternative methods of compliance and whatnot. What we chose to do was just take at straight value the ecology and FEMA required languages. There were a few places where we took off some of the optional items and some clarified some things that were more specifically related to Shelton. But generally speaking, this is what I would call the bare minimum of compliance for FEMA that still keeps us in the NFIP and actually makes us eligible for additional insurance premium decreases later on. And happy to talk to you guys about community rating system, of which we are not yet a participant, but can be in the very near future, which would be a great benefit for our residents. Anyway, with that being said, I would request that the ordinance be passed, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at this time.
All right, Don, do we have public comment?
No, we don't.
May we have a reading of ordinance number 2001-1222.
Ordinance number 2001-1222. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending chapter 18.07 of the Shelton Municipal Code related to flood damage prevention.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance number 2001-1222.
All right, comments or questions?
Is there a second?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Thank you.
I thought I heard his paper.
I missed it.
Okay, comments or questions?
So if we don't follow this recommendation, we would be out of insurance because of flood hazard. We'd be in danger of that.
The short answer to that is yes. The longer answer is there's a process. FEMA comes through and does periodic, what they call community assistance visits, which is the nice term for audit, essentially. Remember that with the IRS later. But anyway, so they come through and they do an audit, and if you're not in compliance with their regulations, then you become put on probation, and then you can, so it's a process, but generally speaking, yes, if this isn't adopted later on, it could cause some trouble.
So due diligence, we should adopt this. Thanks.
That is my recommendation. Yes.
This is not adding or taking away any flood zone areas this time. We did this a couple of years ago, I thought.
This is not a map revision. No, this is clarifying language, mostly clarification around different terms, and some different provisions related to kind of different terminology is really just the best way to describe it. Terminology and glossary, if you will. So.
All right. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2001-1222. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Our last item is an annexation request for Peacock Ridge, and
It's my third at bat in a row. So what I will say is we were notified just before the meeting, and thanks to Councilmember Peterson, that some folks who probably should have received mailings appear not to have received mailings. And we're trying to forensically figure out what was wrong with the mailing list, and we think it may be due to the annexation area expanding from the original petition to the secondary petition to this. We think that might be the problem, but we're missing about a dozen or so parcels that probably should have received a mailing and did not. So our recommendation at this time is actually to postpone this item to March 7th to give us time to send further notification in the newspaper and in the mail to property owners within a 300-foot radius. So that's the recommendation. But also am able to answer any other questions about the proposed annexation, and also wanted to touch base. I know this had been sent out to the council and to the community at large, but there were a number of questions last time related to the annexation, things about infrastructure, schools, development capacity, access, and we prepared FAQs, which we put up on the city's website, and we directed people from the web to these FAQs or from social media to FAQs. So happy to go through those if you guys needed me to, but generally speaking, just tried to give as much information as we could in a very succinct manner to try to help people understand what the potential impacts were and what the question before council is right now, which is just annexing and bringing it into city limits, but that there's no development proposed and that any impacts of any potential development will be considered at the time that the development is applied for.
thank you. Do we want a motion to table?
I think, yeah, a motion to table. I would also just add that we have posted the petition for annexation multiple times in the newspaper of record for our community. We also posted the property at the most highly trafficked intersections. And I feel that if council was to move forward tonight with the annexation, it would be defensible. However, the recommendation to move to the March 7th meeting is made in the interest of transparency to make sure every individual has the opportunity to comment on this before council. It's important to us to make sure that people know what's happening with their local government. So that's the basis of our recommendation this evening. But would like to have a motion to continue date certain to March 7th.
Right. Anyone want to make a motion to extend this to March 7th?
I move to table the annexation proposal to the March 7th council meeting.
Second.
All right. So comments or questions for Jay? Actually, should we ask any audience if they came here to speak on it, if they want to speak on this issue?
I think that would be in the interest of transparency. Absolutely.
Donna, did anybody signed up for this?
No, there isn't, Mr.
Anybody in the
Mayor.
audience wants to talk about the annexation? All right. So no comments or questions. We have a motion to table to March 7th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So. Mark, it's your turn as details for us about the Civic Center rotating art gallery.
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. I'm happy to bring you recommendations from the Shelton Arts Commission tonight for the next installation of Civic Center Rotating Art Gallery. City placed a call for artists through local media and city website for submittals by January 27th. The Arts Commission met on January 31st to jury the work, and we had one artist submit it this juncture here. So we're presenting Deborah Chava Singer and her photography. She has 5 pieces that were approved and recommended by the Arts Commission to be placed on February 28th, and they would be hung in the Civic Center here through May 31st, 2023 with the council's approval.
Thank you, Mark. Donna, we have any public comments?
No, we don't, Mr.
We
Mayor.
have a Motion.
Move to approve Shelton Arts Commission's recommendations for placement in the Civic Center rotating art gallery.
Comments or questions? Second. Oh, gosh. You're just so slow. That's good. Comments or questions? All right, we have a motion, and a second to approve Shelton Arts Commission recommendations for placement of the Civic Center rotating art gallery. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the motion carries. Jeff, you have some manager report for us.
I do, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council, thank you. Whole lot of things going on last week, and a couple of the ones I wanted to mention, the mayor mentioned and Councilmember McDowell mentioned a little bit earlier. Very productive city action days with our partners at the Association of Washington Cities, where we heard from legislators throughout the state about their priorities and the governor. We also had an opportunity to meet with our delegation, Senator McEwen and Representatives Griffey and Couture, and talk to them about our legislative priorities for this session. Very productive meetings, great to meet with them, and they gave us some ideas as well that we'll be bringing back to this council for consideration sometime in the near future. On Friday, the city council met with the Port Commission, and it's in the ongoing effort to work with our partners and neighboring jurisdictions and agencies to implement a community-wide vision of what this is going to look like, and make sure we're all pulling in the same direction. Thought it was a very productive meeting, and happy to get some of those issues out on the table for council and the Port Commission to discuss. And hopefully we'll have many more of those in the future. Today, we graduated the Criminal Justice Training Center, the CJTC, graduated a new officer for the city of Shelton. He graduated today. He will be sworn in tomorrow and then begin his FTO or field training officer period. So learn how our agency does things and get to work on protecting our community, which I think is a great thing. And then this afternoon, the mayor and deputy mayor and I met with Representative Kilmer, again, to talk about our priorities for federal grant dollar opportunities to build up the infrastructure that we need to ensure long-term economic development for the Shelton community. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for
Just a simple question. What time will the swearing in be at the police office?
1:30.
1:30 here?
Yep.
Any other questions, comments for city manager Jeff? Nope. All right. Does the council have any new items for discussion?
I do.
Right.
Yeah, this is kind of repeat because I say this almost every other week, but I walk my dog downtown Shelton almost every day and up at the Huff and Puff Park. So I walk my dog twice a day, every day, and we have such a beautiful community, and I see all the good stuff in the community, not so much the bad stuff. People are usually moved along during business hours if they were in front of someone's door. And a lot of them will end up over at Brewer Park or Community Lifeline at Recovery Cafe. I mean, there are places that people go and they're not just hanging out, making themselves a nuisance to other people in the community. I just want to say what a beautiful community we have, and I want to thank businesses downtown, like there's a pub downtown that my dog has a drink, glass of water every day. Sometimes she gets fed extra corned beef, little pieces from the staff there. So I'm just saying, like, take a walk downtown, see how beautiful it is, and try not, you will see stuff that will make your heart drop. And you'll see people who will make you sad that they're out there. They're actually some of the nicest people that will talk to my dog and offer hugs and pets. And it's really about what you make it and how you perceive folks. And I don't see homeless people as a threat or negative. I see them as people. And I think there are people in this community who really care about the people more than items. And I appreciate that. So, just want to say, get out there and walk and, you know, buy some stuff downtown and, you know, enjoy the life we have here in this beautiful town. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anybody else? All right. Next meeting is scheduled Tuesday, March 7th at 6 p.m. We also have a study session